missed me?
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't receive any greetings to say I miss you.
I also already saw you at the parking lot, remember?
Yeah, but you didn't say anything like I really missed you. So I feel kind of like I wasn't missed. No. You know how that feels, Professor Jad. And how are we doing? I forgot your name, sir. William. William? Are you okay?
Who are you talking to?
Are you okay, William?
Yeah, I actually got 9 hours of sleep last night.
Wow.
So I'm a little groggy.
Oh, from too much sleep. You know, that's the other extreme. You know, God, the architect, we find it very amazing that he creates this very fine balance. You sleep less than 8, you don't feel good. You sleep more than 8, you kind of feel like you should continue sleeping and then like die. You know, you feel groggy.
Yeah,
so
mine is the ideal number of hours for rejuvenation.
Yes.
But I'm so used to not getting much sleep at all. But actually getting just the exact amount that I need.
Yes.
It's like, what's going on?
Exactly. Exactly. And Madam, thank you for coming. We appreciate you joining. It looks like Vincent will be translating for you, and Kim is here. So my team is back there. So okay, so today we are gonna talk about something very interesting. We're talking about musculoskeletal imbalances. So the first test is gonna go to you. Musculoskeletal. What are the components of your musculoskeletal system?
The muscles and the skeleton.
Musculoskeletal imbalances. I love that, so. Okay, so Saul said muscles and skeletons. Okay, you're missing something. What holds the muscles together? What? Because you see, imagine the meat and the bone.
Tendons.
The ligament.
Ligaments.
Ah, now we're getting exciting. Tendons. Why is it because you eat fur? You know tendons. You have help. Ligaments. What else do we call it?
Connective tissue.
Connective tissue or cartilage, right? Connective tissue and cartilage. You know, it all served in fur.
Yes.
Because it contains a lot of what?
Gelatin.
The collagen. Right? So when we talk about, the key thing here is that there are lots of different things we could talk about: muscles, skeleton or bones, cartilage or tendons and ligaments. But what is the biggest challenge? There are two main big illnesses that show up in the musculoskeletal system. One is sarcopenia. What is sarcopenia? Oh, you're explaining Vietnamese, right? Sorry, I thought you were answering. William, what is sarcopenia?
Yeah, I've heard the word before, but it's not coming to mind.
Okay. Sarcopenia. It is the loss of muscle mass.
Oh.
So, especially for menopausal women and men, when you get to a certain age, when you get on our machine, the new one we just got, we want to look at your muscle mass. Your muscle mass is a critical component. What is the key challenge when you get sarcopenia? What happens? What's the big risk?
You get, when you fall, there's no protection.
It's easy to fall, not that when you fall.
Oh, it's easy because your body's not balanced?
Yes. No, your body doesn't have the architecture to hold it very clearly. No, Vincent, stay. Vincent, stay. We have other staff. Is she Vietnamese?
No, I said I can help.
Okay, why don't you go help Kim? All right. So muscle mass for seniors, right? It's a very critical issue. That's why, as you know, William, falling is one of the biggest way in which older people die. They fall, injure themselves because of that lack of muscle mass. And the supporting issues of osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, and all those other issues about bone strength, muscle mass, right? There are three things. There's muscle, there's bone, and in between there's cartilage. So each of those things can have a weakness, right? There's a muscle mass problem, there's a cartilage problem, and there's a bone problem. You see, as we look at the architecture, right? So it's if one of them has a weakness, if it's the bone, like with osteoporosis, where your bone is not holding calcium anymore, so it becomes porous and weak and easy to break, right? And easy to break. Or, guys, pay attention. Thank you for coming. Right? So we've looked at the three big problems, right? Bone mass, loss of cartilage, and loss of muscle mass. Right? So those are the three big problems that arise around the musculoskeletal architecture, right? So Sarcopenia was dealing with that. We have osteoporosis. I can't even spell. And then we have the cartilage issues, right? So across these three things, something becomes more evident. That is something that we all suffer from. When we have musculoskeletal problems, what is the biggest indication that we get?
I'm shrinking.
No.
Joint pain?
Yeah, you got shorter.
There's a perception that you're shrinking, which is true. But only women will worry about shrinking. But the more important issue is pain. Why is pain the biggest challenge with musculoskeletal architecture? Why is pain the biggest problem with it? William, tell us.
Because we don't want to move. It hurts to move.
And so it gets worse, right? Is that making sense? Because movement, yeah. So let's think about this. I'll draw that picture again. So we have muscle, we have bone, and we have cartilage, right? So these three things is really what keeps this architecture together, isn't it? That's what gives us movement. So when you have problems here, or problems here, the real way it then shows up a lot is pain, right? And I'm not going to go deep into some of the other issues where the pain comes from, like inflammation and all of that, but we're going to explore some of that. So have I laid out the framework for the conversation today? So we're going to talk about some of the products. You know, one of the biggest challenges in America today is pain. That's why we have the opioid crisis. Sol, do you know that? The opioid crisis?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's all over TV.
So let's explore that. Jad, why do you think there's an opioid crisis?
I don't know.
You don't know what it is?
Because they get addicted.
I don't know this terminology.
No, okay, Jad, pay attention then. Jad, why are you worried?
Because I'm not familiar with medical terminology.
Oh, okay, all right, okay, Jad.
I told you even in message, I told you that.
Oh, okay, all right, Jad. All right, okay. But Jad, it is all over the news about the opioid crisis.
I don't know what does that mean.
Oh, okay, that's fine, but everybody talks about it.
I self-taught English language.
Okay, it's all right, Jad. I appreciate that. So you could have just said, I don't understand. So tell us, why do you think there's an opioid crisis?
Because when we have pain, we try to take, especially Americans, they like to take medications.
Yes, I like how you say Americans, because everybody in the world has pain.
Yeah.
But in the US, we have been conditioned to take medication when we have pain. there is something else that's causing a lot of the pain. So it's not that people are just addicted to medication. There's a lot of pain. So what's causing the pain? Kim?
Inflammation?
Wow! Where is the inflammation coming from, Kim?
Infections?
That's part of where inflammation is coming from.
Lifestyle?
Yes. Now, what is it about lifestyle that's causing inflammation?
The food you eat?
So the food, but one of the problems is our GI system.
The gut.
Yeah, the gut is compromised. So there's a lot of inflammation. We're going to be looking at some of that. And a lot of that inflammation expresses itself in the muscular architecture in the form of pain, right? And so there's a lot of pain. I was listening to NPR yesterday, and they were saying that as part of the opioid crisis, most of the pain comes from this lifestyle issues, but it also comes from surgery. Most people who have done surgery end up with a lot of pain. There's also a lot of pain if you have cancer. There's a lot of pain if you have arthritis. So a lot of illnesses, chronic illnesses we have today come with a lot of pain, right? And that pain is expressed at this boundary of muscle, cartilage, and bone, right? And so that's the conversation we're going to have today, okay? And it's going to be in two parts. We're going to talk about hemp, the cannabinoid system, the new system that we're exploring to deal with pain. Yes, but we're going to first look at some of the other solutions that we have to talk about pain. So let's start by talking about any questions, any concerns? So I apologize, Jad. So when I ask you a question, all right, okay. All right, good. All right. So when I ask question, it's because I need participation. My staff here, they can answer it, but I need that my staff, right? We have two objectives. I need that our patients are educated on all this stuff, because when you are educated, then you can actually take action and be proactive about it. So even though we are blaming doctors and pharmaceutical companies for the opioid crisis, the actual underlying issue is that a lot of people are in pain. In other countries, their pain tolerance is very, very high. They just live with the pain. In America, it's difficult to live with pain, because from when you're very young, when you have a little headache, they give you ibuprofen. When you have a little, but in my culture, you have pain, my grandmother would say, come here, that's better. You know, it's very painful. Like when we're getting vaccination, we all stand in line. Every kid that has been vaccinated is screaming, and you're like, stay in the line. You know, so in my culture, nobody cares if it is good for you and it's painful, you're going to do it. In America, everybody says, oh, that is abuse, right? It is painful, you cannot do it, right? You see the point? So we've built a culture that doesn't have a very high tolerance for pain. And so they look to medication as a way to address the underlying pain. You understand? So the pain exists. It is really about the tolerance and the overuse of something to produce. For example, I always have a lot of pain after tennis because I'm growing old and the running causes a lot of pain. But I don't take anything because I know that that pain is coming from the accumulation of lactic acid in the muscles, right? When you exercise, lactic acid accumulates in the muscles, and that's painful because it's trying to be expelled out of the body. And once it's expelled, then your body is okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, is it the oxygen when it gets to your muscle that the pain, is it?
No, the lactic acid. Because there's not enough oxygen. When the oxygen gets there, then it releases. Yeah, I don't want to go into the big biochemistry of that. Yes. That's correct. When oxygen gets there, that's why one of the measurements in the new machine is the SpO2, the amount of oxygen that your body is taking in. How many people know what their SpO2 number is? Kim just saw hers.
I didn't have my glucose.
Oh, okay. So that's something, we have a machine back there that measures all of that because it tells us how much oxygen is flowing through your system. It's It's very, very important. It should be above 97, 98%. Okay? All right. So can we pass this out? So for people who have been attending a lot of my classes already know this. Can you give it quickly to the patients first or to our customers visiting first? So for people who have been attending my class already know a lot of this. So let's go to the heart of inflammation. But before I talk about inflammation, I want to talk about stress. Kim already knows this. Kim, what are the
stress?
Yeah, Kim, what are the 4 parts of stress?
Perceived stress.
All right, slow down, Kim. Don't rush us now. Kim, what is perceived stress?
About perceived stress is a perception.
Yeah, but that word is not self-explanatory. What's perceived stress?
It's like you worry for nothing. It's gonna happen. It's
Emotional
gonna happen.
stress.
It's perceived stress. If I'm gonna, if I'm not gonna have money, I'm not gonna have money. I stress. I'm not gonna get any more money. So that's perceived stress.
Exactly. It's like going to Sarcopenia Plaza to shop when you have no money. It looks like Sol is familiar with that. Sol, do you go walking around Sarcopenia Plaza when you don't have money?
Yeah, I just go there to walk.
No, then you get stressed.
No,
She exercises. She talk about that.
Oh, but how are you? But why are you exercising around things that you want that you don't want to get?
No,
No, it has
I don't
emotions.
want it.
You don't want it?
No.
You're just enjoying the cool air for free.
Yes.
Okay.
And watching people.
Shopping.
When I go shopping, I just go for what I need.
You know something? You are different. Many people go there and get stressed because their appetite is higher than their ability to what they can afford. So they get stressed. That's what Kim is calling. Kim, what's number?
I don't have that kind of stress.
Kim, that is just one kind of perceived stress. Oh, Kim's kind of stress is to do with her work. She wants to win all the contracts. Right? Yes. So perceived stress expresses around this issue of what you desire and what are the outcomes. Right? That's why everybody is stressed about exam. Right? When you're going to write an exam, you want to pass, right? And then the question is whether you prepared enough to pass. So that's perceived stress. Are we understanding that? So let's go to the second type of stress, Kim. What's the second kind of stress?
Inflammation.
Okay, inflammation. What the third kind? Because we're coming back to that. Sleep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sleep. Yes, the biggest is sleep.
Right? What we call the circadian dysregulation. And what is the fourth kind?
Lack of exercise.
No. It's from sugar, the glycemic. And the reason I want to go back here is because a lot of people think that this is what stress is. But there are 4 parts of stress that we really need to be clear about. And one of the big ones is inflammation, right? Which we're going to talk about now. Okay? Are we clear there? So one of the big ones is inflammation, right? Okay. Are we good? All right. So let's go to the next page. And I talked to you about inflammation has 2 stages. Does everybody know what inflammation is? Right? I want to take a step back again. Who can explain to me what inflammation is correctly? Who can explain to me correctly what inflammation is? Sol is looking excited.
You can do it.
Swelling.
That is a very good answer, but that's not all of it. So let me take a step back again. So with inflammation, we have acute and chronic. Inflammation is a normal response to attack, right? It's how the body responds to attack, right? So if it's an infection, the body has to, remember, if you cut yourself, the body inflames because it's calling all the stem cells and everything so it can heal. If it's an infection, right, it's just like if I went for a heavyweight boxing match, I'm gonna have some injury because in a fight there's some inflammation. Do we understand that? And that's the one we call acute, the normal response to inflammation. The one that is bad is what we call chronic inflammation, the one that then rides persistently and does not subside. So let's look at our picture. So inflammation, we're now looking at this. What kind of inflammation is this, based on what I just told you?
Acute.
Why is it acute? So
It has the peak and it goes down.
yes, very, very important, right? The acute goes up and it comes down. That's very important. Chronic goes up and stays there, right? It's very important that we understand that. And that's what we call even chronic pain. Chronic pain is tied to chronic inflammation, and the opioid crisis is tied to chronic pain. Do we understand that? You see the connection I'm making, okay? So there are two paths to inflammation. There's what we call initiation, which is this part of it. This is the fight, right? To fight whatever is around. And then there is the resolution. It's like husband and wife. You argue, is the inflammation, then you make love, and then everything is resolved. Right? Isn't that how we deal with it? Yeah, she's laughing. Isn't that the way we do it?
We get the credit card, we go shopping.
But that is the resolution.
That is a resolution.
So we'll call this the credit card part.
Yeah, the credit card pad, yes.
That's the resolution of the fight.
That's better resolution.
Yeah. Right? So now let's talk about, are we clear now about the resolution?
Yes.
But unfortunately with the credit card, sometimes it doesn't fully resolve. Because she's still, yeah, it depends on the limit on the credit card.
Yeah, depend on the limit.
Right?
Yes.
So now let's go to chronic inflammation. When the credit card is not enough to resolve the initiation of the...
When it with chronic, no, it's not, the limit is not enough.
Okay, now we're going to the next page to talk about that. Can we go to the next page? Is everybody understanding what we're talking about? Vincent, how are your people doing? Are they understanding?
Yeah.
All right. See what they said, deficient resolution? That's what Kim was saying when the limit on the credit card is not enough to resolve the fight. Right? So, it's just like your children spending your credit card. You understand? And you ask them to spend $50, do they normally follow that rule? They always spend more, right? But Mom, I needed to spend more. Okay. So without resolution, inflammation can become persistent and chronic, right? So I'm trying to relate this even to relationships, right? When issues are not resolved in relationships, they become chronic because they just stay on the ground. And if the immune response is left unresolved, tissues can become negatively impacted. So that's our body. That's how it's like with relationships. If it's not resolved, it's going to stay there and become a problem, right? And then we have this ongoing unresolved issue, and we have a deficiency in the resolution of it, right? How would inflammation normally be resolved? How, I want to talk about that. Why would inflammation become chronic? Why?
If it's not resolved.
That's one. What is another reason?
Well, we haven't eliminated the cause.
Correct.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
The cause.
So if you have not, so if it is your husband that's causing the fight and you have not eliminated him, then you will keep having the fight. Right? The cause of the inflammation, if it is money, you don't resolve that money issue, then you will keep having the fight. And the credit limit will always not be enough to resolve it. Do you see that? So then it becomes a chronic issue. All right? Is this making sense? It becomes a chronic issue. Okay? Any questions on that? This is a very, very important aspect to pain. And it is also connected to stress. So imagine if you are not resolving inflammation, it contributes also to chronic stress. So you have chronic inflammation, chronic stress, you cannot sleep, high perceived stress already, and then you love sugar. Do you see the issue? Very, very challenging. So the issue of inflammation and stress actually is at the core of chronic illness. And this is the really difficult part to resolve, because nutrients cannot solve it for you. You actually really need to change. Yes, Prasan, you.
The nutrients can give you your ability to
Help.
on the inflammation.
Yes, it can help. But at the core of it is for you to actually take control and say how much of these things you're going to, right? For example, we can do whatever we want to make you sleep. If you're broke, it's going to be difficult to sleep at the end of the day. If you haven't paid your rent, how are you going to sleep? Right? So we can give you all the supplements, but you at some point have to actually take action and take control of your life. Right? At some point you have to say, I'm going to stop being angry with my husband, or I'm going to get rid of him. Right? So you have to resolve it one way or the other. You cannot just keep fighting and thinking that it's going to get better. Okay? Are we clear? I really want you to understand this connection between chronic inflammation and chronic stress, because it's one of the most challenging issues in chronic illness. That's why a lot of people get cancer. Now, let's go to the page that I've just been talking about. Chronic inflammation can lead to chronic diseases. Okay, we're all on that page. All right, so let's look at it. What are the sources of chronic inflammation? We've talked about some of it here, but one of them is inactivity if you don't exercise. The other one is obesity, which tends to come from this stuff. Then the ultimate one is aging, growing old, right? It's the way God made it. And then the other one that Prasan was talking about is nutrient deficiency, cellular dysfunction that I talk a lot about, mitochondrial dysfunction. All of those things cause chronic systemic inflammation. And look at where those things act on. They act on adipocytes. Who is going to tell me what adipocytes is so they can win a supplement? Only visitors. What is adipocytes?
Fat cells.
Ah, you got it. So adipocytes are fat cells. So the more chronic illness you have, the more obesity, your fat cells accumulate, right? They also have action on immune cells. They have action on brain cells, right? And they have a systemic increase in cytokine concentrations. We're not going to go technically into what cytokines are, and overall immune cells itself. And so what do they then cause? So let's look at the illnesses. You know, I told you that chronic inflammation and chronic stress is at the heart of chronic illness. Look at the illnesses that they cause, just the things we talk about. Insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, atherosclerosis. What is atherosclerosis, Kim?
Something to do with
No.
your muscle.
No. Atherosclerosis. William is smiling. William knows the answer. It has to do with
Movement, the movement,
no.
the hands,
No.
The heart beating.
The heartbeat.
Yeah.
Heartbeat.
She has the vein.
Yes, the vein. The strength of, you see, pumping the blood. Because the hardening of your arterial wall is what causes high blood pressure. Right? Because when the blood is pumping, there is no flexibility, and it causes something else that Kim and I were just talking about when she did her analysis. It reduces microcirculation, the ability for blood to reach your hands and your legs.
That's when you get the cramps.
That's why you get the cramps, yes. They call it microcirculation, or what we call vascular circulation, right? Very important. That's why the hardening, that's why whenever we check your the heart smart, we have the equipment here to check the hardness of your arteries, your carotid. Remember that big artery from the heart is right there. So when we check that, it would show us how well the artery is hardened or not.
But I didn't have that issue.
We are not going to discuss your specific issue. Yeah, but there are other reasons why you have high blood pressure. And I don't want to discuss that in a session. Yeah, but the point too is that there's a combination of things that would cause that. It could be a weakening in your heart muscle. It could be some other blockage somewhere. So there are lots of different things that can cause that. But atherosclerosis is one. But look at all the other illnesses that it causes.
Alzheimer's.
Yeah. So when you're driving on the freeway, look at people in their car. Nobody looks happy. They're all inflamed. It's like they have not done number 2. You know when you have not put Alzheimer's, Huntington's, Parkinson's, cancer, arthritis, all driven by inflammation, right? So I'm going to go through this quickly. They say a number of lifestyle approaches can help, right? A lot of people do not exercise, and if you notice, there are a couple of exercises that you should be doing, both resistance and aerobic. And deep breathing is something that a lot of people do not do. How many people here know how to breathe deep? Okay. How long can you take air in and hold? And then release. So anytime you get angry with your husband, that's what you should do. Breathe deeply. And all of a sudden you're calm. That's another way of resolving inflammation. Right? Deep breathing. Because most of us breathe very quickly. Right? Like we're snakes. That's what yoga teaches you, right? Tai Chi and Qigong. And then sleep optimization, like William, he slept so well he didn't need coffee. When you need coffee to wake up, you're going to have chronic inflammation because you don't have enough stress, right? And then social support. Anyway, so there are some dietary things here. I'm going to fly through this. Let's go to this page about mindful portion and rate. So Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a Buddhist monk, he's Vietnamese Buddhist monk, his teaching is around mindful meditation and mindful eating. He says that if you chew a spoon of rice 100 times, you will not be hungry. How many times do you chew, Jad?
6-5 times. It's bad.
It's a big problem. We need to start counting how many times we chew, right? It's a very important part of us really getting ourselves sorted, right? They say that it's one of the bad habits that I have. I eat too quickly. It's a very, very bad habit. So you need to slow down and say, how can I really eat slowly and properly? It's a very, very important habit, okay? It actually reduces, right, your obesity and other things. Okay, I'm done with this slide. Any questions? Any questions? There are no questions? Can you pass this out, please? So now we're going to talk about weed. What is weed? So, what is weed? So, you don't know what weed is, Saul?
What?
Weed.
Oh,
Yeah, it's marijuana. It's legal in California.
Yes, it is legal in California, so we can talk about it openly. Okay, so these are targeted strategies to support your own body's homeostatic modulator. All right, let's start. That's a big word. What is a homeostatic modulator? Kim, what is the homeostatic modulator? What is modulator? Cool, that's correct. No, actually, let's go deeper. Regulate what? Regulate how? Modulation, as we spoke when we spoke about inflammation, was in two stages, right? Initiation and resolution. And typically, modulation is about resolution, right? So when we say homostatic,
okay.
modulation. Well, big English words, right? So we know what that is. What is that? Homeostasis.
It's the status of your body.
Relaxation.
The status of your body.
Yeah, so it's the status of your body. But as Prasant is suggesting on the side, it's a state called equilibrium. So what is equilibrium?
It keeps you balanced.
Yeah, well, but you're using words that are not meaning anything. Balance.
Balance.
Right, balance in what? Like Buddhist balance?
No, your body, how you stand. You don't fall. You balance. Keep you balanced.
Oh, well, no, the kind of balance we mean, it's much deeper than that. So when during the day are you most in a state of homeostasis? So if you look at your 24-hour day, when do you think soul is most peaceful and calm?
After church.
Really? After church? Wow, that's amazing. What about you, William?
When you first wake up.
Okay. And then what about you, Kim?
I don't think I have one.
What about you? What's your name? I didn't get your name. Linda? Linda, when do you have homeostasis?
After eating the good afternoon.
Oh, really? After eating pho or a really good one? Vincent, what about you? Ask your... Before you go to bed. Well, so you see, so instinctively, we know what homeostasis is, right? We know what that point of equilibrium is. When we are not up, or when we are not too down, we are in like our normal human state. Peaceful, happy, content, okay, right? At peace, our whole body is working. You don't want to pee, you don't want to poo, you're not hungry, you're not thirsty, you're not really tired, you're just okay.
Isn't that a flat liner?
Well, actually, at that point, your blood pressure is very, very standard. Yeah, it's very yeah. That happens to me normally after tennis. That's when I achieve that level of homeostasis where my body is like in a what I would call a satisfied state. Okay? But most times, you know that when we look at cortisol and other things, that's how we are throughout the day, right? We're up and down, and therefore to achieve that. So let's talk about this. Now, do you understand? Why is homeostasis important? Why is homeostasis important?
To regulate the body or to just balancing it?
No. Why is the state of homeostasis important? Why is that state an important state? It's an important state because that's the state where we're actually happiest. That's the state where we're most content. So that's a state we want to achieve. Even when you do shopping, it doesn't get you to that state. Oh, well, but you did mention it before.
Say, yeah, when I'm shopping, I am at the most.
All right, you see that when she's shopping, right? Because sometimes when I'm shopping too, I'm in that state. I really got what I want. I'm okay now. I'm good, right? So the body, and that's why we keep seeking that state. It's a state that we all want to be at. So let's rather than use this one, I'm gonna use this one rather. Can you pass this one?
A lot of information.
Yeah, I was going to go through that, but that's reading material, but I'm going to go through this. It's very important because it brings us to have the hemp conversation. So I'm going to read this because it's very deep, but I'll skim through it very quickly. So the endocannabinoid system is an important physiological system involved in regulating and balancing numerous functions and processes in the human body, including brain plasticity. What is brain plasticity? What is brain plasticity? It is the ability for your brain to continue to grow and learn. So our brains have the ability to continue growing. So if you want to make sure that you don't get Alzheimer's, you need to learn new things all the time. If you learn new language, new exercise, your brain continues to grow. Our brains don't have a limit, right? One of my teachers in high school spoke 11 languages and had 6 PhDs. Our capacity is unlimited. So that's the issue about plasticity. When you stop learning, the brain begins to die. And that's what happens to a lot of people who have Alzheimer's, right? So the regulation of plasticity is a very, very important issue. Is that clear? So that's why when people retire, most of them die quickly, because their brain stops working, right? So you don't want to retire, right? It also is responsible for memory, learning and memory, stress and emotions, immune response, inflammation, appetite, food intake, bone and muscle health, digestion, metabolism, and energy balance. Do I have to go on? This is a very important system. Okay? When it is imbalanced, or there's a prolonged alteration, such as some deficiency, when there are changes in the density, blah, 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 right? It negatively affects different parts of our health. Right? So nourishing the ECS is a very important part. That's what we're going to talk about. And how does this tie to hemp? Hemp is a cannabinoid system. It actually supports the body when our body is depleted of the ECS architecture. So we're going to talk about that. Is this making sense? I want you to first understand the ECS system in the body and how plants, phytocannabinoids actually can help with that regulation itself. That's why a lot of people medicinally are finding that hemp is a very helpful addition to their medicinal cabinet. Is this making sense, guys? Are we clear, or am I lost technically?
No, you're not, but.
Ask the question.
But hemp is the marijuana.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. But I wanted to show you the central system, which is a cannabinoid system in our body, and why hemp, which is a plant cannabinoid system, has some connections to that. Throughout the ages, people have known that hemp has that effect in calming us down and self-regulating all of these issues. You understand? That's why people smoke it. It's not because they're just crazy. A lot of people take it because it creates this calming influence. So we want to look at that system first, then we talk about how hemp supports that system. Is this making sense? Because a lot of people... Did I answer your question?
Not really.
Yeah, so what is the question that I am not answering?
See, the thing
It's always a controversial when you smoke marijuana.
No. Okay. We're here in a technical class. We're not here in a political
No,
class.
it's not even political, so you're telling me smoking marijuana is good for you.
No, did I say that? I haven't said that.
No.
We're going to get there. I didn't say that. I just said that there are plant systems that...
But it can be in any other form.
Oh, yeah, well, we will get to that. Yeah, so don't jump to that. We didn't go there yet. We're just saying that. Let's look at that system in our bodies and how those plant systems that are cannabinoid systems can help with homeostasis when we are depleted of it. Right? Are we making sense? So stay with us on... Yeah.
Our body naturally produces carbon. When it's less in that's why
Okay, are we understanding this? I didn't say go start smoking hemp tomorrow. We're going to talk about... Yeah, I think that's what... Yes, I didn't say go start smoking hemp tomorrow.
It's a whole status, that's why I'm asking.
Bring your bag tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so let's just look at some of the research highlights. They say ECS, which is our cannabinoid system, plays a critical role in regulating and balancing a range of physiological functions in the body to help maintain homeostasis. We've just talked about that. I'm reading on that first page, research highlights. We just spoke about that, right? You now understand what homeostasis is. Getting the body to that state of balance so it's not doing that. Right? So it's calm, it's settled, everything is in peace, right? Suboptimal function of the ECS is linked to many pathological states adversely impacting overall health. So when that system, as Dr. Yi just said, is affected by age, right, it causes a lot of challenges, right? A lot of challenges like what? Like erectile dysfunction, like a loss of libido, like hot flashes, like, right, there are lots of different things like memory loss, lots of things that are not standard. You read, you cannot remember, right? Lifestyle approaches such as stress management and targeted nutritional interventions may help support the ECS functions, which mediate homeostasis in multiple organ systems involved in various aspects of physical, physiological, and emotional health, right? It went back to talk about stress management, right? And since we all live in a society today where there's a lot of stress, anything that is going to help lower that stress, plus the nutritional interventions that we are providing, right? The supplements we're going to be talking about later on, right? Those two things begin to help you get back homeostasis. So this stress and pain connection is a very big one. Okay, this is where now Kim has been wanting to go all along. Utilization of plant-derived cannabinoids and terpenoids is a rapidly expanding research area, and emerging data suggests their potential in supporting the function of the ECS. Are we now clear? We didn't say go start smoking it. We're going to talk about the products. All right? And I know that some people already from a legal, moral perspective may have a problem with hemp. That's not what this class is about.
I was going to say.
All right.
Yeah, no, because even now in the military, they're suggesting that they want to use it too.
Yes.
So it's not.
They have always used it in the military.
It was not legal.
To calm them, especially after their, well, I know because in the military, after combat, they use it to calm them down.
Even in combat, when they're
Yes.
hurt and they're using that. So.
Yes. Okay. So the mechanism of action, I'm not going to go into it, it's too technical. But let's talk about two important scenarios: stress response and immune response, to illustrate how the ECS adapts swiftly to challenging conditions, right? So one is the stress response, and I'm not going to go also too deep into it because it's the HPA axis, it's very technical, and our immune response are also not going to go into much detail. So let's look at lifestyle approaches on the next page and ECS support. How do we support ECS? Various pathological states such as migraine, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, they are using it a lot in the military, inflammatory bowel disease, IBD, are associated with clinical endocannabinoid deficiency, right? Why our system cannot come back to balance, to homeostasis. On the other hand, an overactive ECS is associated with conditions like obesity. So let's draw this. So there is normal ECS, there is under ECS, and there's over ECS, right? And we know that the normal is what we are talking about, homeostasis. So what it's talking here is when there's deficiency and when there is over. When there is over, what does it say? On the other hand, overactive ECS is associated with conditions like obesity and diabetes. Certain lifestyle approaches may help support ECS functions, which mediate homeostasis in multiple organ systems involved in various aspects of physical, physiological, emotional health. So we look at stress management. Chronic stress negatively impacts it. That means that it brings it down, right? Diet and exercise improve it, right? We are looking for things that improve it, and we're looking for things that bring it down, right? So if you understand what those things are, then you begin to look at your lifestyle and you begin to manage them properly, right? Okay, now let's talk about plant bioactives, right? Plant bioactives are the extracts that we get from like hemp, right? The active ingredients that we extract from hemp, right? We're going to talk about those products shortly. I know you're very excited because you want to start buying those products, right? So you can start ordering them. So preliminary studies have shown that plant-derived compounds such as phytocannabinoids and terpenoids modulate the ECS and affect a variety of physiological processes influenced by the ECS. For example, there's a human clinical study that showed that CBD enhanced endocannabinoid signaling by suppressing blah blah blah. In animal models, they've used it and other things, right? That goes on and on and on. So I'm going to stop there. Any questions before we start talking about the products? Any questions? So can you pass this on hemp? Why didn't you do it double pages? Why are you doing single pages? Who printed this? Huh? No, but this one is single page. Come on, guys. You know how to print, right? You don't know how to use the copier?
Actually, Sephora has this.
Sephora has it?
They use a CBD oil
For what?
on beauty products.
Yeah, they're using the,
Yeah,
you know,
they put it
breeding.
on beauty products, that's what I said, the CBD on beauty products.
All right, so let's quickly go through this. So let's start with this page. All right, let's start with this page, the hemp oil page. So it's a broad spectrum hemp extract. So this supply comes from Metagenics. It's the Metagenic hemp oil. It's an organic broad spectrum hemp extract sourced from aerial plant parts, stalk, stem, seeds, and flower that consist of naturally occurring phytocannabinoids and terpenes which have been shown to support body function and general health, right? Let's look at the health benefits. Phytocannabinoids may help support a healthy stress response by modulating key neurotransmitter pathways. So one of the things is that for some of the patients that we're working with who are still struggling with stress, right, including myself, and when we do your stress score on the machine, this may be a product that we're going to recommend for managing stress. Hemp oil consists of naturally occurring phytocannabinoids and terpenes which have been shown to support body function and general health. Preclinical models suggest phytocannabinoids may play a role and mechanism that supports digestive system health and intestinal integrity. Preclinical data shows that phytocannabinoids may support neurological health by acting on diverse central nervous system pathways. Phytocannabinoids have been shown to display antioxidant properties. Phytocannabinoids may support immune response via modulation of biochemical pathways associated with the immune system, right? So the same thing with the other page, that is the hemp advantage. These ones are capsules and the other one is oil. So it's the same thing. You could have it as a capsule or you could have it as an oil.
The oil to put on your drink, in your drink?
No, I think you put it on your palm.
Oh, yeah.
It's a body oil for absorption directly into the bloodstream, right? The challenge is that if you already have too many capsules, then the oil on your skin is better because it's absorbed directly into your bloodstream, right? Rather than...
It doesn't make you high. It's not marijuana. There's no negative.
Yeah, you can read it. It doesn't make you high.
They take it out there.
They've removed the part that makes you high and left just the parts that are important for your support. Any questions, comments on that? Can you pass the rest? I'm confused. Who made these copies? Okay, can you pass that? I'm kind of confused. So I'm giving you a set of certain set of supplements that we want to talk about in the musculoskeletal area. So stay with me. Let me explain to you the architecture of how I dispense supplements. So we have a spectrum of health that everybody here falls in. We have, pay attention guys, this is important. Stop reading the notes, I'll take you through that. We have vitality, we have health, we have distress, and we have disorder. When we run your clinical biomarkers, this is going to show as red, this is going to show as yellow, this is going to show as green, And this is going to show us very green. Oh, blue, yes. Oh, blue. Thank you. You remember that. For each of these levels, right, we have products that is we call F1 foundation, F2, and F3. So just because you have vitality doesn't mean that you don't need support. F2 products are what we call support. F3 is what we call rescue products. And F1 is what we call foundation or prevention products. So everybody here should take foundation products. So for people who don't have this, can you make copies and give them for our new guests? Make extra copies and give them. You have to take foundation 1. Right? So we just spoke about the ECS. The ECS is supported by a nutrient architecture. So when you have enough nutrients, it supports that infrastructure. There are other things that are required for extra support, and as we walk through this pile, we're going to be talking about that, right? So let's start on the first page with the protein. In the beginning of this class today, I spoke about sarcopenia. Sarcopenia happens a lot in women and older men. And what is sarcopenia? It's the loss of muscle mass, right? So if your muscle mass is not very good, you need to take this protein. But the only way you can build muscle mass by taking protein is to take the protein and exercise.
Oh, you can't just take the protein and don't exercise?
Yeah, muscle doesn't build by that, like that. It's very important you understand that. Oh. If you want to build muscle, you must take the protein and exercise. You can't just take it, lie in bed, watch TV, and muscle will grow.
That's why they sell it in the gym.
That's why they sell it in the gym. Yes, exactly. All right, so this is a really comprehensive food. You're going to see all the things that it contains, right? All right, so let's go to the next product. This is the one that I take.
The BCA.
Yes, I take this when I play tennis because it helps with me building protein, right? Muscle up. If you want to build muscle also, it complements your workout lineup with Metagenics BCCA. So I actually put this in my drink that I use for hydrating when I do my exercise. It's very, very important because it supports, it has what we call branch chain amino acids that are important for workout recovery. Listen, helping to support muscle protein synthesis and reduce temporary muscle soreness after exercise.
But does it have to be an intensive workout or just a normal cardio?
No, any exercise where you're, if it's exercise, even if you're walking.
Walking, right? So it doesn't have to be like intense exercise?
No, it doesn't say that. Any kind of exercise. Then we have this amazing product, SPM.
I took that before.
Women love this product. And if you have any kind of pain, SPM is very good. Do we have SPM? So this is, I think, one of our most expensive products. It's actually a fractionated oil, right? Fish oil. And it is designed to support the body's natural capacity to respond to physical challenges and to resolve immune response, right? So if you take about 8 capsules, it significantly, there's some studies here and I don't think I included, it reduces your inflammation and pain by over 80%. So if you have inflammation and pain, you take SPM, it's a very, very important supplement for that. Okay?
But to get clarification, those are not foundation one, that's the F2 we're talking about.
Yes, they're F2, yes, F2, yes. And yes, they're all F2. All these are support supplements. Collagenix. So this is a very, very important for people who are losing elasticity and right. I know. So many of our patients come here and they do microneedling, and they don't want to. Yes, so they do. Just because God gave you good skin doesn't mean that.
Doesn't mean you don't want, yes.
Yes, a lot of other people.
Yes.
Yes, a lot of other people have wrinkles.
Yes.
They don't look as good as me or as good as William, so they have to use microneedling to remove the wrinkles, which generates underlying collagen growth. But this is one way of taking collagen to help support that depletion of collagen that happens over time. So collagenix is a unique combination of free-form amino acids. It's amazing, isn't it? What are amino acids, Kim?
I know that word a lot, but I don't know exactly what it means. It's talking about this amino acid.
What are amino acids?
What is amino acid? What is amino acid?
So what are amino acids? William, tell us, what are amino acids?
They're the
Listen.
the basic building block of proteins.
Correct. It's a very important thing, right? Amino acids are the building blocks of protein. Why are proteins very important?
Because it helps the muscles.
More than that.
Energy.
No, don't whisper from that. Protein